that's better. Being able to see the actual layout, having enough white space. I actually feel like we were on old Reddit for a second there, and now I feel like I'm in a much better position. Like I just feel safer. I feel like I have space around me. Like that white space on the side, I quite enjoy. Let's look at the top posts from the last. We were talking about it a second ago. Like Reddit is not exactly the fastest working website on the planet here. We'll look at the top post from this week on Am I the Asshole Filtered? Top post. Hi, Reddit. I'm Wes, and I lead our sustainability efforts at Accenture. Okay, Wes. You're not an asshole, but at the same time, I do kind of wish you weren't at the very top of the board here. But that's okay. How about this one? I like this. Would I be the asshole? Am I the asshole for siding with my mom over my wife and humiliating my wife in front of my family? We're about to find out. I can see the flare, but I choose not to, okay? We had a family dinner tonight, and it did not end well. This is always a great start. Hey, Fishy Head, thanks for the gifted subscriptions. My wife doesn't get along with my family. I do not allow any blatant disrespect, but I know they don't like her. I had to cut off my younger sister because of how disrespectful she was. But we are still in contact with my mom, stepdad, and middle sister. You know, this doesn't seem that crazy so far. I mean, it's family's family. It happens. My wife thinks that my mom is a picky eater. I don't think that's fair. Growing up, I was exposed to a huge variety. We ate stuff from different cultures. We ate vegetables. My mom loves spicy food. It's usually in the second paragraph, you just end up getting like something that makes the other person, like it finally reveals the personality flaw that is going to lead to the rest of the post, and I love it. She just doesn't like the type of food my wife grew up with, which usually involves barbecue sauce or thick gravy. To be clear, my mom will eat the foods without the sauces, but my wife won't accommodate her and says it isn't her job to coddle my mom. I kind of get where she's coming from because my mom is used to getting what she wants and can be ridiculously stubborn. Always a barbecue sauce or a thick gravy. Last time they came over, like 4 months ago, my mom refused to eat. She said my wife could have separated the piece of chicken before putting the barbecue sauce on, and she was just being a bitch. Okay, that's a little much, I would say, personally. But maybe there's some foundational aggression that's happened here in the past. It's an easy everybody sucks here. Can I also say, without being too judgmental to begin with, it's just barbecue sauce, you know? I don't mean to suggest like you can't have food preferences. I think it would be a little bit of a different story right now if she was putting... I mean, it's delicious tang and sweetness. You know, the idea that you would separate the breasts if she asked for it, I guess is fine. But I'm just surprised. That's all I'm saying. I did yell at my mom for the language, but I'm sick of this. For tonight, I asked my wife to make anything not involving barbecue or gravy, and she refused. So I went out and got my mom salmon and vegetables from a local restaurant. When my wife saw it, she called me a piece of shit. She told my mom if she wanted to eat it, she had to go outside, and then she got mad because my mom went in the pool. She ate on a float. We don't have chairs out there. Are you telling me? So let's just tell me your family is dysfunctional without telling me your family's dysfunctional. Asked my wife to cook something that doesn't involve barbecue sauce or gravy. She said, impossible. Literally can't be done. That you've just eliminated 99% of the foods that exist on the planet. Okay. Your mother-in-law comes over and she says, couldn't you have just given me a plain chicken breast? Bitch. A little bit over the top on top of that to begin with. Then he said, hey, the guy said, hey, mom. OP says, hey, mom, don't call my wife a bitch. That's a little rude. But I will go out and get you salmon and vegetables from a local restaurant. Wife calls you a piece of shit and then says, if you want, which is so abnormal, if you want to eat the food, you have to eat it outside, which is, I just can't imagine having a demand like that to begin with. I guess she's just offended. And then your mom gets on a floaty and eats the salmon and vegetables in the pool. That's unbelievable. It's so many bizarre behavioral choices in such a small space of time. I just imagine that, like the mom eating the salmon in an above ground pool on like a floating chair, and the wife seething, like looking through the blinds. Like, my dad ended up cussing at us both, so I had to ask him to leave. It never gets better. When we went out to get my mom, my wife tried to splash her and make the float tip. My mom got away, and my wife ended up in tears. Needless to say, we will not do dinner at our house again, but I feel like such an ass. I think I was technically in the clear, but my wife cried, and that hurts me deep. Edit. Why are so many people asking why I don't cook? I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not allowed to cook. That is something my wife asks of her partners, and it makes her feel secure. What the hell are you talking about? This feels a little bit like everybody's fake here. So the husband cannot cook because the wife forbids it. Let's assume it's real, okay? But that's insane. Also, I do doubt. Can I just say that I doubt that the number one question he got is, why don't you cook? I am guessing the number one question that he got is, why doesn't your wife just cook something without barbecue sauce or gravy? Because that really eliminates like less than, I think, 30 foods that are commonly cooked in a home kitchen, and really could have made anything else, including salmon and vegetables. So who's the asshole? If we're assuming this story is real, it's everybody sucks here. That's my verdict right now. But can I tell you, I kind of don't think the husband sucks. Mom sucks. She called son's wife a bitch. There's basically no situation that makes that acceptable. There's probably a couple, like if she hit you with her car or something like that while she was looking at her phone. But simultaneously, like that's over the line, especially just because she made a food that you don't like, okay? Even if you ask for her not to do it, you'd just be like, oh, you just swallow your pride on that one and then never go back, I think. The wife is a total asshole and insane as well. I don't even know what to say. So much of this is bizarre to me. In particular, not allowing your mother-in-law to eat food that she brought in your house, and then also trying to tip over her floaty in the pool. I will say that although I said the mom sucks, the fact that she chose not to just eat outside, like on the grass, and instead she ate in the pool is actually kind of sick. That almost redeems her. However, the husband being not an asshole here, almost, to me, I feel like if I was in the court of public opinion, I would want more information. Because I don't believe that your mom is an asshole and your wife is an asshole and you're just like an impartial third party. I believe that if we ask them for their opinion on the story, we might get a little bit more context to the husband's behavior. Because I doubt that it's like an asshole stew with like a little not asshole, piece of cornbread on top. I bet that there's something else going on here. But I would say, for me, on this one, this has got to be an everybody sucks here. With a little kicker, wife is worse. I mean, come on. You tried to tip over your mother-in-law? I don't even... There's been times where, like, my mother-in-law, she, like, drove Kate and me to, like, an event. And when she drives, she, like, slams on the gas when the light turns green. And then when the car in front of her hits their brake lights, she slams on the brake, right? And I get motion sick like crazy. And I'm just like in the back of the car going like almost throwing up. You know what I say when we arrive? I say, thanks for the ride. That's it. You just, you gotta be polite. Okay. Yeah. Everybody's based here. Okay. Would I be the asshole if I took away my son's gaming PC? You know, I said most situations, it sounds like they're going to be the asshole, and then they're not. This one, I'm like, I guarantee I'm going to be like, you're not the asshole. I would expect there's almost no situation where I'm going to read this and then be like, you're not in the clear. Let me get. He's posting on. He's calling people slurs when he plays Apex Legends. He's going into streamers' chats and going like, "Sorry, Egg, gotta leave. Germa went live, etc., etc." Let's see. I'm just looking at this to get mad now. I just want to get mad. Oh wow, this is a short one. My teenage son has a gaming PC. Teenage son with a gaming PC getting high on information. He plays 4 to 5 hours per day. This has caused his summer school grades to suffer and normal school grades to suffer. He is also not completing chores or being self-disciplined. This weekend, I finally snapped and took away his PC, but this entire week he's been angry and annoyed at me, saying I am mean and unfair. He's also saying I can't take it away because he saved it with his own money and he got from birthdays, Christmas, and selling on Etsy. Hold on. Sigma Grind set? Is a Rising Grind gamer? He's got an Etsy store? Can we? I gotta go into the thread. I gotta see more about this kid's Etsy store. I only want his grades to improve and will give the PC back if his grades go up. Am I the asshole? This is an actual tough one, man. I thought it was gonna be easy, okay? Yo, Matt X Powers. You're not the asshole for those gifted subs. Thank you. Thank you. Wait, can I say one thing right out of the gate? I think my parents must be glad that they raised a child when gaming PCs were not all the rage. Like, my dad, he took my Xbox away once or twice when I was like 14 or 15 years old. But that's literally you just like unplug two things and just, foist it over your shoulder. A gaming PC, that's a pain in the ass. You got to unplug like 30 things at the back of it. So let's talk about this a little bit more. The first thing I would say is it sounds like the dad has his son's best interest in mind, okay? He wants his son to be good at school. I feel like there's a little subtext that goes on here, which is that if your teenage son is in summer school, or mom, sure, yeah, or mom, if your teenage son is in summer school, I believe that the only reason you end up in summer school, unless you're getting ahead of classes to make like your senior year that much easier, is to, for remedial purposes, get your marks up from the previous year or semester or get some supplemental information. So it seems like the grade thing is a sticking point. It's a real issue. And when you're a teenager, like when you're an adult, if you want to screw up your own life, nobody can stop you really, well, except for, the police, I guess. But, when you're a teenager, the parent has a prerogative to be like, like in 10 years, you're going to be like, I really threw away my high school education and my ability to succeed in college because I was too into Genshin Impact. Like you're going to end up, there will be regrets there, let me just say. However, I will say it's a pricklier subject when he did buy the PC himself. I mean, when he says he bought it himself with the money that he got from birthdays and Christmas, I'm like, I'm playing kind of a tiny violin for that one. It's like I worked hard being alive and also thanking Santa Claus for that money. But the Etsy stuff, sure, it seems like he put in a little bit of effort there to hustle for the Etsy stuff. But at the same time, I think it's... I originally thought I was going to be like, maybe not you're the asshole, but you're like a little asshole here. But I'm going to go not the asshole now that I've thought about it some more. And I think it's just... the whole point of this is I think a parent has a right to circumvent some of their child's autonomy for what they feel is in their best interest. Obviously, if you take that to the absurd extreme of like, you could just lock them in their room forever, then you're going to be the asshole. But if you If you're doing something within reason that can establish good habits for them, I think you have an impetus. I'm going to say not the asshole. I will also say there's got to be some kind of compromise. Like, what about a compromise where, like, if he does his homework as soon as he comes home from summer school, summer school, snack, homework, gaming. Why not? That does the same thing of establishing like a good habit of making sure that you're, finishing the work that you have to do. And he's trying, he's making an effort. I think if you just take it away from him, you risk creating resentment. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not saying I'd be above it if it came to that. Yeah, we'll see. It's one of those things. I'm sure it's like, I'm very wary of this now that I have a child. You're like, well, if I was a parent, I would simply come up with a rational plan that we would all sign on the dotted line and agree to. And there would be a laid out series of terms if anybody breached the agreement. And as a result, we would all agree that this is fair and equitable. And when you're actually, you got your own life at middle-aged, and then also your teenage son is like giving you the middle finger, I'm sure you're like, yeah, well, guess who controls like literally everything in this house? Anyway, more complicated than I thought it would be. Let's put it that way. Am I the asshole for getting mad at my parents for selling my video games for practically nothing? I'm noticing a lot of gaming-based threads this week. This is a big positive for me. This is my area of expertise. It describes my two passions, video games and also judging other people unfairly. Am I the asshole for getting mad at my parents for selling my video games for practically nothing? I, 19 male, live with my parents, and we are in the process of moving to a new house. My parents decided to host a yard sale, and since I wasn't available to help, they asked if I'd be willing to sell some of my old video games if they paid me back. Already, a couple of things here. One is, I don't understand why we have an ad for VIP Casino. This scares me because I consume no casino-based content, but I do talk about my opinion on gambling streamers in our private Discord. You spying on me, you little shit? Targeted marketing, man. I did watch Chib, that's true. Still do. They should be ads for $10 million California penthouses then. Anyway. Get 10 free spins to win $1 million when you sign. You could just do that? You could just lie in the ad? And by lie, I mean, present the reality that is probably like a 1 in 17 billion chance, but as if like, it's 50-50. Anyway, moving on. So 19 live with their parents. Honestly, already you might be expecting like, they should contribute financially to the household. They should pay rent. In a perfect world, maybe. But at the same time, I'm like, 19 is so young, especially in an era where like young people have been like economically crushed over and over by both COVID and the great financial crisis, and house prices that have risen substantially faster than wages. So I definitely feel like this is a situation. If this goes in a direction of like, you're an adult now, you should have to pay us, I'm like, well, the parents are assholes. But anyway. The thing that is strange for me is selling your kid's video games and then paying him back later. But I guess that maybe just speaks to the economic reality of the situation here. Anyway, I told them it was fine, but I handed them a list of video games I did not want them to sell and told them to look up how much the games are worth before selling them. I didn't expect them to sell a lot, given that most of the games I own right now cost a small fortune online. All right, I'm telling you immediately, you have made a mistake. If most of the games you own cost a small fortune, and that insinuates maybe you're a collector or something, you should not have given your parents permission to sell any of them. They don't know. They got no idea. My mom is still of the, she has like, probably 5,000 hockey cards from the 90s. She still thinks they're going to be worth like $1 million someday. Like it's going to be a nest egg you can retire off of. You got to be, nobody is aware of everything in the collectibles market. You got to, I think you should have been there if you're going to, give them permission for this. Oh no. When I asked where my games were, I found that nearly all of my GameCube, DS, 3DS games had been sold, including one I wrote down on my list. Can I say something? They shouldn't have sold the one on the list. But you can't be, you don't have the justifiability to be upset about the other ones if the other ones were not on the list. Some of the games cost hundreds of dollars to buy, so I knew my parents didn't look up the prices, like I said. When I called them out on it, they said if I wanted things done right, I should have been there. And also mentioned they paid for some of the games themselves. I've never gotten into any serious arguments with my parents before, but I told them that until they gave me what I would have gotten by selling the games online, which would be over $2,000, I don't want to hear any more of your BS. My mom's acting like nothing happened, but my dad's refusing to talk to me. Am I the asshole? Okay. I like that the comment is under the threshold, so we actually can't see the judgment. I think I'm gonna end up, well, I guess it's everybody sucks here. I think I'm gonna end up making some enemies in chat on this one. Look, the dad might be an asshole for not talking to you. I don't know what's going on with that, but that's like a one sentence statement. So it's hard to glean much from that. Can I say though, like it sounds like he's a video game enthusiast. It sounds like he's a collector. He gave his parents permission to sell anything that wasn't on the list. He did tell them to look up the values in advance. I think, I don't want to say he's an asshole. I kind of feel like he just made a mistake. If that makes sense. I feel like what he thought he was getting into was a situation where he was like, hey, I can offload some of these games at market value because my parents just volunteered to go look up the price for all this stuff on eBay and then sell it for what it's worth at our garage sale. Which, by the way, I don't know where you live, but I think if you start selling like, a $200 copy of Skies of Arcadia or something like that at your garage sale, you're not going to get many biters. I think that's a situation you probably want to take that straight to eBay instead of, putting it behind glass on your front porch. But anyway, garage sale is not where you go for market value. That's where you put out stuff that is priced to move, and Gary Vaynerchuk shows up and he buys like some shitty mug from like the 1976 Olympics, and then he gets in his car and goes like, "You see this? You see?" And then he looks it up on eBay and it's like $10, and he's like, "I got that for $250, 400% gain." Anyway, I think it's unreasonable of the video game collector to assume that his parents were going to do the necessary due diligence to sell something at a yard sale. That's just my two cents. I think even his parents would have been like, okay, in that case, just keep them. I also think he can't be mad if only one of the games on the list was sold. He can be mad about the game on the list that was sold, but I also don't think, the other ones, he doesn't get to be like, they sold the one game on the list and the other 30 games that I told them as well, that I said implicitly was okay. So I don't know if he's an asshole. I also feel like his parents are definitely not assholes at all. Like I don't see a situation where his parents could be assholes for anything except his dad not talking to him right now. But he's mad. I mean, his parents did buy him the games maybe, but he was probably, like when he's 8. I don't think you can really do that. You could buy your kid like a Christmas gift and then 10 years later be like, "Oh, I bought it for you anyway." But I'm filling in a lot of the blanks with like headcanon here. Because it's only 2 paragraphs long, which is a brevity that I actually appreciate, to be honest. Reread the last 2 lines. I told them until they gave me what I would have gotten by selling the games online, I didn't want to hear any more of their BS. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's emotion or if he's genuinely got that going on in his head. Because, I mean, it is a situation where, as a parent, I'm like, by the time you get your kid to the age of 19, you've probably invested like hundreds of thousands of dollars into their upbringing, which admittedly, like, they didn't ask for, but to nickel and dime because they sold your copy of Suikoden 3 is a little bit, I think you don't need to go into that level of minutia, if that makes sense. I also don't know what it means when they say, "I don't want to hear any more of your BS." It sounds like if your dad's refusing to talk to you and your mom's acting like nothing's happening, then it sounds like they're not giving you BS, and as a result, you have achieved what you wanted. Anyway, I will say 19 is young, but it is maybe a little old to be getting into this kind of contentious discourse with your parents. But I don't know. This strikes me as just something that's just it's just an unfortunate situation. You entrusted something that you treasure to somebody who doesn't know what it's worth, and then when they sold it for less than it's worth because they think they're toys, you're upset. I think you have a right to be upset, but I also, in this situation, I definitely don't look at this like the parents did anything wrong. Is basically what it comes down to. I think your parents didn't understand what the collection was worth to you, and you didn't understand that for your parents, they were probably like, just put that shit on the table with like $5 or best offer. It's anyway. Yeah, like I also feel like if you're a collector, like and maybe this is just me as a person, I think I would be like, I'd be excited to put some of the merch out there at the garage sale and show up and be like, let's see if I can actually sell this to like a real collector. Or at least like look up the prices in advance and be like, please don't sell this Earthbound for like less than $300 or something like that. Anyway, I would say the situation is unfortunate and the reaction is then over the top. But so much this. You gotta look at some of these posts before you click on them. Like, for example, this one: am I the asshole for separating my sister from my nephew? Let's get spicy. It's a Monday. I'm ready to go. It's spelled wrong, but separating is tough, okay? That's a tough word. I never know if you separate with an A. Like, one is separate and one is separate. My 24, so I always read this wrong, man. OP's 24. Their sister's 35, nephew's 13. Moved in with me for 7 months after her husband cheated on her and eloped. He is currently absent. She is in financial misery at the moment. That's pretty bad. And I don't charge her for any costs. They both had their own rooms, currently just my nephew. I don't know how to read this sentence, and I'm not just trying to be a jerk about it. What does that mean? They both had their own. Oh, at one point they had their own rooms, but currently only my nephew has their own room. What happened to the other room? Maybe it's not germane to the point. It's locked. It's vented. Sus. Okay. The problem is, my sister criticized my lifestyle and told me I'm a bad influence to her son that goes on for the whole time. To describe myself, I am a partner in a repair service for devices like smartphones or laptops, have very few friends, but which I can trust fully. I am more introverted, not much social. I have gaming, cigarettes, and energy drink addictions. I am fat / chubby, 108 kilograms, 1.83 meters high. Okay, look, can I also say, very open with a lot of information here, okay? I already know where I think I'm going with this, as I'll say it. What I'm going to say is, sure, it sounds like you might be a little bit of a bad influence on a 13-year-old kid, but it also seems like you're kind of a good influence on a 13-year-old kid by having the financial means and the capabilities to take in your substantially older sister and her child, which kind of nullifies a lot of the other stuff, I think, to some extent. I mean, yeah, it's his house and his life. I don't have any problems with my nephew, but I teach him my interest if I interact with him. Like, I disassemble smartphones, show him how to put them back together, think about my work, or we just play PC games and I let him use my laptop. My sister has problems with it. In her opinion, her son shouldn't become like me. The last incident, oh no. I'm just reading. My peripheral vision caught pizza, chicken nuggets, Rick and Morty. Like I see like so many possible hot button issues coming up. The last instance where I snapped at her was a month ago. On Saturday night, I decided to gaming with pizza, chicken nuggets, and energy drinks. My nephew has just joined me and enjoyed his meal while he watched me playing and binged Rick and Morty on smartphone. We were up until 4 a.m. On the next morning, I woke up at like 1 p.m. My sister went on a rant against me that I am an asocial freak who ruins her child. Okay, 4 a.m., it is a Saturday, but the kid's 13. Like, I can see why the sister would be a little bit upset by that. She probably should not have called him an asocial freak. But that I would think that maybe the next day I would be like, hey, you know, my son, we're trying to keep him on like the straight and narrow for now. He's 13 years old. You know, he's in 7th grade. If you could have him go to bed at midnight, that'd be nice. But then also, now that I say that, I'm like, why wasn't the sister there to tell the nephew to go to sleep at midnight or 11 or whatever, instead of relying on the uncle to do it, who's only like 10 years older than the nephew to begin with? That really hurt me, because maybe I'm not as social as other people, but I try to care for my nephew's well-being, help him with school if I have time, bring him shopping. I told her she has to go to our parents. She can't live with me anymore. I've spoken with my nephew and explained that I cannot stand my sister anymore, and he's welcomed here whenever he wants. He was furious at my sister. Sister packed their stuff, and my dad picked her up, but my nephew refused to go with my sister, so basically he is now with me, and we are basically roommates. It's such a good sentence. We're basically roommates. It's nothing weird. I'm just, yeah. Hey, that's just my roommate. Hey, he's learning long division right now. Cut him some slack. Oh man. Does he pitch in on the rent? My parents and sister told me I should force him to go, but that for me is just cruel, and I refused. Okay, that's not right. My nephew is not a difficult child, cleans up after he himself does of the things if I tell him, and until now he perfectly does his homework, so my sister has to visit us daily to see her son. She begs me to kick my nephew out, but my nephew just doesn't want to leave, and I don't want to be cruel to my nephew with kicking him out because he's now in therapy and just began to improve. Am I the ass because I separate my sister from her child? I don't have a clue what would legally happen, but in the moment we live with this status quo because nephew's therapist told my sister not to force him and he needs stability. Wow, this is just a horrible situation. I have no idea what to say. Let's take a drink of water first here. Let me say, I think the first thing I'd like to say is that it seems like he's being a good uncle. You know, my understanding of the duties of an uncle, you know, you're kind of like, you've got the responsibility of a parent, you know, for the well-being of the child, but you also, you know, you're almost like halfway between like a parent and a friend, but more on the parent side. Is like I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. Let me put it this way. You don't have to maintain the same kind of authority as an uncle over like your 13-year-old nephew that you do over your 13-year-old child, you know? You're the boss, you're the adult, you're running things, but you can also be like, "Hey, you know what? You can have another soda, just don't tell your mom." So I think that the only thing that maybe crosses the line is like letting him stay up until 4 a.m., in my opinion. But also, you know, I mean, maybe he didn't get a lot of sleep for one night. That's not a good reason to go off. Now, kicking your sister out of your house, but allowing your nephew to stay with you when it's like safe to go with the mom definitely seems like kind of a prickly issue that you'd want to maybe talk to like a lawyer or something. I don't know, like that's a really tough one for just an idiot on the internet to look at it and be like, who's right, who's in the right, and who's in the wrong here. But it's definitely it's a strange situation. But let me just say, honestly, it sounds like it's just a pretty good guy that has gotten himself embroiled in a spicy family situation. Maybe he doesn't have the healthiest lifestyle, but he also doesn't have a 13-year-old child. He's just a 24-year-old guy that, you know, is living on his own. And, you know, if he wants to watch Rick and Morty and drink energy drinks and smoke cigarettes until 4 a.m., that's your right as a, you know, a single person living alone as an adult with no dependents. You could vibe however you see fit. Like, I mean, you got other responsibilities when you're setting an example for, you know, your kids and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't think you got to live well just so your nephew sees. Like, that's a good example. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, he shouldn't be. It's not the best environment for a teenager to grow up in, but I'm also like, I don't know, it sounds like your situation with her mom is totally messed up as well, or with his mom is totally messed up. So I have no idea. But that's crazy. Sorry that happened to you. I don't know what to say. I guess he does have a dependent now. Yeah, he's kind of like, I don't know. I honestly have no idea. He does. Yeah. Okay. Let's put a cork on that one. He doesn't seem like the asshole. He just, you know, I don't know what to say. He doesn't seem like the asshole. That's what I'll say about that. He might be committing a felony. I don't know. If the therapist advised the child not to leave, I'm not qualified to talk about that sort of that sort of stuff. Oh. What was the flare? Everyone sucks. I think that's fair. I don't necessarily think he sucks, but he's also not, you know, above criticism here. But if anything, I guess the thing I would say is I don't think he deserves criticism for his lifestyle. You know, he's doing stuff within the bounds of the law, and again, he's a 24-year-old guy living alone. If he wants to, you know, taurinate himself every day, then by all means. Preferably without the 13-year-old kid living with him. But anyway. Top Golf with Pro Putt. Full course beta. Sign up now open. This does not seem... Oculus only. We're now taking sign-ups for beta players for our future feature release Full Course Golf. It's never too early to give players a chance to be involved. Okay. Am I the asshole for asking my partner to wear appropriate clothes for a baseball game? Every time we have like an appropriate clothing based question, I realize what percentage of my audience doesn't live in like areas with North American fashion norms, and I end up. And by the way, which is fine. for the record. But I do end up taking some heat sometimes from people that are like, I live in Malaysia, and if you wore that shit to the gym here, we would beat you up. And I'm like, well, I don't live in Malaysia. Maybe they do. I don't know. I just got to put myself in the shoes of what I'm familiar with, which is that, I just assume these all take place like 2 blocks away from me. Am I the asshole for asking my partner to wear appropriate clothes for a baseball game? My partner of 2 years. Okay, so this is OP is the girlfriend. And then her partner is a 26-year-old man super into fashion. His aesthetic varies, but he loves to dress up for any occasion. He models for work, so he has access to some really awesome clothes. His clothing is impeccable. And I love his sense of style and confidence to wear whatever he wants. Okay, quit bragging. You're the asshole. However, he has never met my grandparents in their 80s, except over a handful of family FaceTime calls, so we're taking a trip to their state, seeing my family, and specifically having my partner meet my grandparents. All 4 of us love baseball, so I've purchased tickets for my grandfather's favorite team. Happens to be the local MLB team the weekend we are coming. When I told my partner, he got super excited and started planning outfits for him to wear and get pictures in at the stadium. Nobody's done anything wrong here at all. But one of the great things about going to a sporting event is you don't have to plan your outfit. If you got a jersey, you just put the jersey on. I'm not trying to flex, but there's some times where I'm like, am I gonna wear the black skate jersey with no nameplate yet? Am I gonna wear the Henrik Sedin captain jersey because it's it's alumni night or something? But I mean, that only takes like 6 or 7 hours to figure out. Okay. Normally, I would have no issue with whatever he wore. However, he was picking out some of his more expensive items, designer brands printed on them, extra flashy watches, and my grandparents are not well off, especially not right now as they're victims of a pension scam. They will eventually get the money back, but right now they are forced back into working and are paycheck to paycheck. I asked my partner not to wear designer clothes so as not to show off to my grandparents the disparity of wealth as they have already... I thought it said they sharked their father, and I was like, what the heck does that mean? As they have already shared with my father, they are embarrassed that I'm paying for our day of baseball together and that they cannot afford to contribute anything financially to the day. Foreign Panda Bear, thank you for the gifted subscriptions as well. Thank you. You can wear whatever you want to the baseball game after the gift subs. This is where things go south. You know what? This is a refreshingly rational, nobody sucks here description so far. Your boyfriend loves to dress up. He wants to dress up. You don't want him to dress up because it'll make your grandparents feel bad about their, recently made worse financial situation. Seems totally fair so far. He claims that I am not supportive of his sense of style, and because he dresses sometimes more feminine or androgynous, I'm embarrassed to bring him to the game with my grandparents. I am not embarrassed. I just don't want my grandparents feeling like they don't fit in. They've seen him on social media posts in some of the magazine campaigns he's been in wearing skirts and such, and they've been nothing but excited to meet him. He says I'm an asshole, and if he can't wear the clothes he wants, he won't go. So am I the asshole? This is a tough one. Can I say, I kind of feel like this is a nobody sucks here. Which is kind of just copping the flair. Let me say something here, okay? Because I got burned by this last week, and I've been waiting for an opportunity to turn it around. I do think it's a little bit unreasonable that it seems like you politely asked your boyfriend to wear a different outfit for the game, and then he said, if I can't wear what I want, I don't want to go. But if we put the shoe on the other foot, and the boyfriend was speaking to the girlfriend and going, hey, could you not wear that to the baseball game because it might make my grandparents uncomfortable, I think that people would be like, your boyfriend's an asshole for issuing you like an ultimatum like that. So, or they would be like, I understand why she feels like I just don't want to go at all now. So, and it's a pretty, on the severity scale, like this is like a 2 out of 10 asshole level versus, the lady who left her nephew with her 24-year-old brother. But anyway, I can understand, even though I don't care about fashion at all, except for the streamer drip. I can understand, if especially if you're a model and you take pride in, expressing yourself through your outfit. You're like, this is what I want to wear. It's special for me. I'm excited to plan on my outfit. And then someone's like, don't wear that. Wear blue jeans and a tucked in plaid shirt. You'd be like, okay, fine. Then maybe I just don't want to go. Because it is trying to stifle some autonomy to some degree. But let's go down a little bit further here. This was asked in a private message, but it might shed light on the subject. My partner's family is not well off, and he would never dress the way he wants to with my grandparents. This behavior is not normal for him, especially because he doesn't often own the clothes he wears, and he specifically bought these for the trip to wear to the game. I don't know what that means. My partner's family is not well off. He would never dress the way he wants to with my grandparents. This behavior is not normal for him. So you think your boyfriend's gone crazy. I don't get it. I think it's supposed to be his grandparents. Okay, maybe. It still doesn't make that much sense to me. When around his family of a different belief system than I choose to wear modest clothing and have head coverings for when it's appropriate, as that is a part of their religion and want to be respectful. They are not wealthy. Hey, do you have everybody's tax returns? Why are you familiar with absolutely every person's financial situation? Like, I know how I'm doing. And I got like a temperature on like my parents and nobody else. I don't know how anybody else is doing on planet Earth at all. Is she an auditor for the IRS? I don't. How does she know her boyfriend's? I guess probably because her boyfriend told her. But anyway. They are not wealthy, and a part of their religion is not just physical modesty, but also how you present yourself. He never wears work clothes to his own family functions. This is one of those situations where I feel like this person has become much more invested in being right in the argument than in actually coming to the resolution. Because now instead of like, how do I, which I guess is what am I the assholes for to begin with. But instead of being like, how can we resolve this situation? She's like, let me keep adding more context that makes it appear like I'm obviously not in the wrong here. I don't know. This is, it's a weird one. I feel, first off, this situation is not that big of a deal to begin with. Can I say something that is that people might take as honestly pretty rude? But your grandparents are in their 80s. I think there's a little like you gotta let your boyfriend wear whatever he wants, and if they're in their 80s and they're like he made a bad impression because he's wearing a $500 T-shirt, like. That's kind of their problem, you know? Like, they've lived through the Cold War. My granddaughter's boyfriend is wearing, like, a Balenciaga T-shirt. Like, who cares? Like, you can't keep them safe from having, like, a wealth displayed in front of them. Like on the drive to the game, they're going to drive by maybe, like some supercars or something like that. Don't tell them how much the players on the field are making. Like, I think she's overthinking, trying to make them. Yeah, she's trying to protect them from the drip, which I don't know if it's. I think it's trying to shelter somebody who has, lived a long life. I don't know. I feel like, are you going to put them in a blindfold or something so they don't see that there's people around them wearing Yeezys or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, long story short, I don't necessarily think anybody's like a huge asshole here. I don't have the Sigma grind set. I feel like if I asked Kate, like, hey, maybe could you change your outfit for dinner with my parents? And she was like, I'll tell you what, how about I just don't go? I'd be like, you know what? You look great. Let's get on the road. We're already 10 minutes late probably, so we should probably just go anyway. It just, to me, this doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I mean, at this point, I feel like if I were the boyfriend, I would resent being in what appears to be a long argument over like whether or not I can wear like this shirt to the Cardinals game. It just seems like that. If anything, it's like a red flag that it's such a problem, I guess. Anyway, we're gonna keep it moving. But for now.